Creative Brain Candy by creators for creators.
Ma'am, I heard about your husband. I am truly sorry.
He would have been happy to know that you were at my side. I am sorry for your loss as well. Come, Bobby. Allow me to introduce former MMC, Gunnery Sergeant Roberta Draper, my new liaison.
Hello.
It's an honor, Sergeant.
Hi.
So does this mean we joined up?
We're an independent ship. We don't fly anyone's flag.
That's right. But this isn't a fight we can stay out of.
I want you all to take a good look around. This is what Marco Inaros hates. This is what he is afraid of. Why he tried so hard to destroy you and your ship. All we have to do now is to turn every Belter, Martian, and Earther into this. This is how we win.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Smoking and Drinking in Space. This is a sci-fi podcast from a couple guys who think they know sci-fi. And this week, we discuss the penultimate season of the sci-fi series that showed us the power of blue goo, starring betrayal, budding awkward romances, and the bends, as well as more rock throwing at Season 5 of The Expanse. He's the old mechanic who does all the wrong things for what he thinks are all the right reasons and gets hit in the head a lot. And he eats fudge rounds in everybody's ears because he's an asshole. It's Rob. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good. It's a Star Crunch today, okay? Not a fudge round.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yep.
I hate you. You know that, right?
Hey, you don't have to edit this shit. I do.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. I just leave it
And
in.
he's the guy who... And he's the guy who would rather win a fight than sacrifice himself to save some friends of a guy he doesn't really like. He's back again this week because he's obligated by court order. It's SP. How are you doing, SP?
All right. I'm working with the judge here. I think it should be free pretty soon. By the way, Bull, I think he was one of the added characters this season. I know he's been in the books, but I think he was the best added character this season. And oh, by the way, just to share in the love here.
Yes.
I actually have a Star Crunch. And,
all right.
Yeah. And
do you have just a bunch of snack things sitting around you and you just have one so you can match Rob?
He does. He has a plethora of boxes. He showed me a picture of it. So,
oh, my God.
Yeah, couch me.
Did you two plan this out?
Nope. No.
No. Can't say that we did.
So both of you are just natural assholes.
Hey, the shoe fits.
I don't know. Star Crunches are pretty good. They're way better than the moon pies.
Star Crunches are great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anything's better than a moon pie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll agree with that. This is good.
Yeah.
All right. Rob, you got any news for us this week?
Yeah, I do. Let's see. Let's switch over to this one. Let's see. Hey, let's start with this one. All right. In 1992, NASA confirmed concrete evidence of extrasolar planets or exoplanets orbiting an alien star, 2,300 light years away. It was a momentous occasion. So let's fast forward to March 21st, 2022. 30 years later, we are now at 5,005 exoplanets now documented in the library, each with its own unique characteristics. So they hit the 5,000 mark milestone. They're really proud of themselves. Whatever. Maybe we'll get to see some of them. Maybe we won't. But, I needed news. It's science related. You know how hard it is to find science related news for a sci-fi show? It's kind of tough. That's why normally I do superhero news. But
I don't seem to have any problems finding science fiction news every week.
well, that's just because you're better at it than I am, I guess. The other science fiction news that I have that's not really science fiction is that apparently Morbius sucks balls.
Is that out now?
Well, there's some early screeners, and
gotcha.
Yeah, it sucks balls.
So you brought your superhero news back into my sci-fi show.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Perfect.
All right,
Yeah.
and let's swing back on over to. This one's more for James, who's not here. This one would have been more entertaining if James was here. But NASA is.
But yet you brought it anyway.
Yeah. NASA's been under fire a little bit because of the James Webb Space Telescope, specifically the LGBTQ community, has a little bit of an issue with them naming the telescope after James Webb, a administrator of NASA in the 60s, who apparently had a bit of a problem with the gays and allegedly fired a bunch of people because he thought they were gay.
Is there any documentation for that? Because I know they had the NASA historian and another historian that were looking into it, and they couldn't find any evidence of any of this.
Yeah, so some new documents obtained under a Freedom of Information request show that NASA was aware of a 1969 court case filed by a former NASA employee who was fired in 1963 because supervisors thought he was gay. And so back in, I think it was 2021, early 2021, a bunch of astronomers petitioned NASA to change the name of the telescope because it contributed because of James Webb's contributions to the lavender scare that targeted the LGBTQ community. And NASA basically dismissed it, saying it had no evidence supporting that allegation, and now new documents have come out. So, whatever. Personally, I think the James Webb Telescope was named after a guy at my office whose name is James Webb, and it's the same way. It's spelled the same way. And I always ask him how his telescope's doing, and he says it's doing pretty good.
And he says, "Shut up, get away from me."
No. We just get a kind of a kick out of it. Anyway.
Actually, I'm all for this. First of all, if this is true, it would be the right thing to do to rename it. But second of all,
would be.
If they do rename it, that means that they would have to fly up there, and then they would have to put, stickers of the new name over the old name on the spacecraft itself, which means you would have to go up there and repair it and resupply it.
Well, that would be a manned space mission.
Well, you could. Well,
yeah,
not necessarily. But
no. You can't send a robot up there.
You mean a crewed space mission?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't say the things that NASA was accused of, and then say manned space mission. You have to say crewed space mission.
I said manned, like humaned.
No, you cannot say that.
You can't say that anymore?
No, it is crewed.
Oh.
The PC term is crewed.
Okay, so it's a crewed, but then that kind of sounds like it was just like haphazardly thrown together.
Yeah, like it was.
I agree, and
it was like last second. Okay, guys, let's find the nearest dudes and strap them to a rocket, see what happens, or dudettes.
So I appreciate the fact that they have some very strong feelings about his homophobia or his anti-gay stance, and of course that wasn't right, firing people because of their sexuality, but it was the 60s, and that is what happened. However, James Webb did have a lot of influence over the space and NASA's mission back in the 60s. I mean, that's why they dedicated the satellite to him. And so I don't think necessarily the satellite is celebrating his anti-gay views. I think the satellite is celebrating his contributions to space exploration and NASA. I don't know that changing the satellite's name is the right thing to do, even if he was, firing people because they were gay. Of course, that's not the right thing to do, and I don't think anybody should celebrate him for that. But do we all have to be perfect people? I mean, nobody's perfect, and I'm sick of the overwhelming persecution for people acting within the norms of their time.
Right. And getting bombed because of it, because of, years later when things have changed.
One of the reasons why this is so important or so in the spotlight is you're talking about a governmental organization. So if the government itself would, quote unquote, support that viewpoint through the naming of something, then that's, I think, where a key issue lies legally. And I don't want to get into it too far, but I could see the fact that why this would be important, because it would set precedents.
But again, I mean, you're going to have a hard time finding somebody who is perfect, who doesn't have black marks in their history or their conduct.
Oh, that's
even
easy.
Today.
It's whoever the media decides is perfect.
Well, but I mean, do we do that?
Yeah.
Is that where we're going right now?
We did it with the last election.
I think that's a little different.
No, I would argue that it would be the same, and that whatever mainstream media decides happens to be where everybody tends to go these days. I think
okay, well, but that's a whole other can of worms and a whole other issue.
Yeah, it's not a science-based thing, so probably not best to discuss it on this podcast. By the way, one of the things that we should discuss is the fact that NASA, since we talked last time, actually went through and displayed the SLS on the launch pad on the date that they said they were going to do it.
Well, displayed.
Yep. And they rolled it out. It was displayed right there. Yeah.
And then they
did
nothing
launch
with it.
Well, it was a wet rehearsal. They went down to T-minus 10 seconds and then they cut it off. That's what they were supposed to do.
Oh, I thought they were launching.
No, they were just rolling it out.
Just rolling it out. Okay. Ooh, congratulations. You have something that sits on a rover. Does it work? No.
Well, it worked to T-minus 10.
That doesn't mean anything. So, that's like getting to second base and then getting blue balls.
Well, here's the thing, right? So I think the government, what they're trying to do is they're trying to force SpaceX's Starship to be delayed so that through the environmental assessment, so that the SLS will be the first out of the two to launch. So they can say they launched the biggest rocket this planet's ever known until the Starship launches the next day, the next week, the next month, whenever, because Starship will be the biggest, most powerful rocket that this planet has ever sent into orbit. So,
well, yeah, but with a show of hands, who all thinks that the SLS is actually going to launch?
Wait, you do know this is a podcast. You can't see our hands.
Yeah,
but my hand is raised.
Of course it is.
Well, yeah, you said show of hands. I've raised my hand. I think
that was the joke you.
Wait, you think who thinks it's gonna? Oh no, my hand's not raised. No, I take that back.
Who thinks that the SLS is actually going to launch?
I think it's vaporware.
I see no hands, so
I think it's vaporware.
I think it's actually going to launch. Now, whether it makes it off the pad or makes it into orbit, that's an entirely different thing. Actually, when you think about it, since it is a bunch of recycled parts from the shuttle program, it should at least launch into the first stage. So whether it makes it beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah, a bunch of recycled parts from the shuttle program, yet it's taken them this long and to go woefully over budget to make it happen.
Yes.
There's a lot of bureaucracy in NASA.
That is correct. Yeah.
So I've got one more.
Whoa! 4 this week?
Well, see, the
overachiever.
Yeah, that Mobius one I didn't really count. I just had to bring in some superhero news, and that's just something that I saw. So the last thing that I've got, and I sent you guys some images, is that the Solar Orbiter did a full, it did a extreme ultraviolet imager in the highest resolution ever recorded of the sun, of the outer atmosphere that has ever been taken. So
Is this
Go
the
ahead.
Parker probe? Is that what this is? The Parker probe?
I don't know. It doesn't say. It just says
You broke Rob.
It just says the solar orbiters. So I don't
All
know
the
what
Serpent orbiters, or
it's the solar orbiter.
Yeah, aren't there like 3 satellites in orbit around the sun that are taking readings and
Well,
pictures?
fuck if I know, dude. Just let me do my news. God bless.
okay? So there's the Parker Solar Probe, and then the Solar Orbiter. That's all
Okay.
I was wondering, was which one are we talking about? Because
The solar orbiter.
Okay.
Parker is not involved in this one. So that first image I sent you, that is taken from the Extreme Ultraviolet Imager. It's a high resolution thing. Basically, they are 75 million kilometers away, and you can just see in about the 2 o'clock position, that is a little dot which represents Earth compared to the size of the sun. So that was kind of interesting. It's basically 25 individual images that are of the entire sun, and to put that into frame of reference, the final image contains more than 83 million pixels in a 9148 by 9112 pixel grid. Which is basically 10 times better than what a 4K TV can display. So it is lots and lots of pixels. The second sets of photos there, they also took some images from the of a wavelength of 17 nanometers of the ultraviolet spectrum, to reveal the sun's upper atmosphere and the different temperatures. So it took pictures at let's see what the degrees were here. We've got hydrogen gas at 10,000 degrees, which is the purple, and then you've got the blue, which is represents the carbon at 32,000 degrees, all in Celsius. Green is the oxygen at 320,000 degrees, and then the yellow to neon is neon at 630,000 degrees. So that's just
That's all Celsius.
all Celsius, yeah. So it's super hot, kind of like Jason's ass.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought that was kind of interesting, and everybody can see those pictures when we post it on the little thingy. But yeah, it's kind of cool. We got some very high res images, and over in the 8 o'clock position, there is something spewing out of the sun that helps contribute to the solar winds and stuff like that. It's
Solar flare?
no, it's not a solar flare. What did they call it?
Solar ejecta?
Corona mass ejection.
Let's see. Edge of the sun, dark filaments. It just says dark filaments can be seen projecting away from the surface. These are prone to erupt following coronal gases. So creating space weather storms is what they were calling it. So yeah, maybe it was an ejecta. Maybe they didn't really say, but it was interesting that they caught one in the picture. So big
All
news.
right.
Yeah. I've got another one.
Oh my God.
Research on the fly.
No, this one's just this one's real quick. Amazon bought MGM for $8.5 billion.
Yeah, that's been in the works for a while.
Yeah. Well, it's official now. So
The one thing
It
that I
passed.
have not heard is what the plans are, or any mention thereof, of the Stargate IP.
yeah, they haven't said anything as far as if they're going to move forward with any of that. But, they got 007, Stargate.
Well, there's a whole library of
plethora.
MGM stuff. So
Yeah.
good luck
Lots of
finding that on any streaming service other than Amazon once the initial contract
expires
stuff
on all of that.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right. Let's hear from another podcast on the network, shall we?
Looking forward to it.
Hey everyone, I'm John.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are the
Video Game Lounge Podcast.
What are you guys doing?
You're supposed to do it together, Kevin.
Title number 6, dude.
All right, yes, this is the Video Game Lounge Podcast.
Podcast not here for notes and news, but to talk games and drink brews. Join us every other Monday.
Where we talk about what you're drinking, what you're playing, and most importantly, each episode we discuss games of past, present, and the involvement it may or may not have influenced us.
Oh, that was quick.
That's what she said.
Got 'em.
All right, and you can catch them on creativebraincandy.com. Definitely go check them out and all the other podcasts that we have out there. So, who's ready for a pod crawl?
Let's do it.
I am.
Let's do this.
We can call it, I don't know, say a pod crawl? The pod crawl! Pod crawl! Pod crawl! Pod crawl! Excellent! Insert it deep! Pod crawl! Kind of like a space suppository full of information.
Holden and Naomi are on Tycho getting some R&R, and the Rossi is getting some needed repairs. Amos is on Earth settling affairs for his recently deceased adopted mom, and Alex is heading to Mars to try and patch things up with the family he left behind. Fred has followed through with his promise to get Naomi information about her son, and it turns out he's on Palace Station, her old hangout. She tells Holden she's going to take a sabbatical and see if she can save her son from making bad decisions, proving that the futility of moms trying to save their sons from their own idiocy will never end, even hundreds of years into the future. Holden isn't keen on the idea, but goes along with it. Back on Earth, Amos meets his mom-not-mom's boy toy and then goes to his kid brother, who is the kingpin of Baltimore, to ask a favor and rehash some old times over tequila. Alex has a talk with his estranged wife who tells him to beat sand, and then reaches out to his kid who's out camping in the woods on Mars somewhere. He later hooks up with Bobby at whatever passes for a roadhouse in the future where Bobby throws attitude and leaves in a huff. Bobby is working with Ava Serla trying to track down an illegal weapons smuggling ring and coming up short as she works her way up the food chain. Naomi makes it to Palace Station and finds some old friends, and later comes face to face with her kid. As a mea culpa, she gives him an old beater of a ship, which he then uses to kidnap her and takes her back to his dad. On Tycho, Holden is trying to convince Fred that holding on to the protomolecule is a bad idea, and he's proven correct when the Free Navy kills Fred and steals the sample from his safe using an impervious crabbot. Holden is about to take the Rossi out to exact some righteous vengeance when he gets a desperate communique from Naomi Sid telling him the reactor was sabotaged. While Holden starts repairs, Naomi is locked away, but has a heart-to-heart with her kid trying to shove some reason in his hormone-filled brain, but his father has conditioned him too well, and Philip decides to use the junker his mom gave him as a trap to blow up the Rossi. Naomi isn't going to let someone explode her boy toy without a fight, so she takes a walk outside to the other ship, and then spends the next who knows how many days trying to get people, including Alex and Bobby in the Razorback, to stay away from it so they don't explode. She finally resorts to bailing out and using sign language to keep Alex and Bobby away, and Bobby comes to save her from the black. However, while Bobby was away, Alex suffers a stroke from the G's he and Bobby were pulling, and takes his final ride into the sunset. Back on Earth, Amos visits Clarissa in the pen, rocks fall and almost everybody dies. Amos and Clarissa climb out of the rubble and start to make their way back to Baltimore to find help. They eventually hook back up with Amos's brother, and then head to Rich People's Island to score a suborbital shuttle that will take them to the moon. Don't ask. Back on the moon, everybody joins back up, say their brief goodbyes to Alex, and are given the job of being an independent contractor in the war against the Free Navy. Ava Serla gives an inspiring speech about bringing people together and Roll Marco assaulting the ring, taking it over and controlling the portals to other worlds. Credits.
All right, season 5 of The Expanse. So we are on the next to the last season. Season 6 is actually a really short one. It's only 6 episodes, but this was a full 10-episode season. I think, in my opinion, this is probably the weakest season of the series, and I'll get into some of the reasons why. But before we talk about that, I've been wanting to talk about this for the last couple episodes, and I just keep forgetting. But can we talk about how what a garbage fire of an application the Amazon app is?
I am hard pressed to find a really good application, or a streaming application, to go through multiple devices. Some work better on other devices than the ones that you might have. Some work better on a computer, some work better on tablet, some work better actually streaming on screen. So I think it's hit or miss across the board. If you're watching it on a computer, which I don't recommend, I recommend your best screen, your best sound device or sound board or whatever you got. I recommend watching the series there because the CGI is that phenomenal and it really is well cinematically done. But if you happen to be watching it on a PC, it's pretty easy to navigate.
So what's your garbage dumpster fire claim here based on?
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So first, navigating around, and I'm using the Amazon app on an Apple TV. Okay. Navigating around in that app to find anything is an act of futility. Just the way they have things organized is fucking stupid. Using their search functionality is a pain in the ass. But not only that, once you finally find something to watch and you start watching it, every time I back out of a show and want to go back to like the main menu, the fucking app locks up on me and I have to force close it and then reopen it.
Do you have an older Apple TV device?
No, it's an Apple TV 4K.
Okay.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I use a Amazon Fire TV Live, so it's not the Cube thing. It's the generation before that. And I have absolutely no problem. Searching's easy. In fact, all I got to do is hit a button and go, the Expanse. And Alexa goes, here you go. And then I'm good to go. So maybe, I don't know, that's all I ever watch it on is the Fire TV. So maybe it's optimized for that.
Yeah, I have issues with Disney Plus on just about anything, trying to search for it. So one of the things we're watching on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is X-Men, the animated series. Trying to find that anywhere in the app itself is a pain in the rear end. I can't get to it in like less than, I forget, I counted. It was like 14 or 15 clicks in order to get it. And it's not all the time in my most recently watched, so I can't go down there. And then Apple TV on just about any app is the worst app that I've run across. The Apple TV Plus app, not the Apple TV hardware. The Apple TV Plus app is just horrendous. And you can't restart where you stopped. You have to start all over again at the beginning. Like I'm watching Foundation and like, well, I know I've watched 10 minutes of this episode, but now I got to start all over again. Or worse yet, I've watched 40 minutes of this episode. I got to start all over again and then fast forward to the point where I think I am. So I don't think it's just Prime Video that's the issue. I think they all have issues.
No, they all have issues, but Prime Video is by far the worst. So I've already watched this series multiple times. And so I've got, the episodes mostly watched in my list. And so whenever I go back to watch an episode that I've already watched, it starts it where I've already watched it. There's nowhere to restart. Because when you go to choose the episode, the main screen is still on the episode that you were on last time. So you can't restart it because then you're restarting that episode. But when you click on it to make it to give it focus or to activate that episode, it goes directly into that episode. There's no restart function there, and usually I'm at the point where it's going to start the next episode. And if you let it roll over to the next episode, then the next episode is queued up in the main menu. And if you restart that, well, then you're an episode ahead. And so trying to restart a fucking show in the Amazon app is just, it's like hammering your balls with a hammer.
Well, the live TV, you select the episode and it has the option. You can either resume or right next to it, it says watch from beginning. And I haven't had any problems like that you're describing. And that might be because I'm on their native platform, right?
Well, but it's not that difficult to mimic functionality on other platforms. I think they do it to draw people to their native platform, but fuck them. I don't even like the Fire Sticks that I have.
All right.
Well, that was my rant. So, season 5.
And we're back.
Season 5. I think this is probably the weakest episode. Don't get me wrong. I think it's still a good episode, but it's probably the weakest episode of the series. just because they split everybody up. There's too many storylines that you're trying to follow, and I think too many storylines are trying to take time out of a very limited number of episodes that they have available. I don't think they were able to flesh out all of these story arcs.
Season 5 is pretty weak. I will go back and forth between season 4 and season 5. Season 6 has its own issues just because it's 6 episodes. But I was trying to think of how I would quantify or name this season. Like we talked about before, season 1 is the mystery of Julie Mao. Season 2 is the Eros to Venus. And then the proto-molecule saying I'm still doing my own thing, so go punt. Season 3 is the rise of Ava Serla and the race to the ring. Season 4 is the ring rush and farewell to Miller. So season 5, I was like scratching my head because it's almost like we take a pause, right? So I called it character backstories and what remains in the soul system, because we didn't talk too much outside of the ring or proto-molecule. I know there was some, but it was so small in comparison to the other seasons. It was emotional, it was character driven, and because of that, great performances, but it was not the most entertaining to me.
Yeah, I agree. So I think season 5 was a bit of character backstory, a bit of character development for some of the characters that you haven't seen a lot of, like Alex and Amos. And I think a lot of it was just a setup for season 6. I'm not sure at this point if they had anticipated beyond a season 6 or if they had already decided that season 6 was going to be the last season at this point. You can't really tell by the way that they shaped this season.
When season 5 was announced, the premiere date was announced. It was announced that season 6 was renewed, but that would be the last season. So I don't think when they were in the creative stage with season 5, if they knew that season 6 was going to be their last season.
Yeah. And I think season 6 probably suffered a little bit because of that, because season 6 was definitely a short season, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more in season 6. Although, well, we'll get into season 6 next week or next episode, so I don't want to delve too much into season 6.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm
season
on
5.
episode 2. Don't spoil anything yet.
Oh, you haven't seen season 6 yet?
No, I'm on episode 2. I'm ahead of the game technically.
Yeah,
J.R.R. Martin came in to write the remaining parts of the season, and you can guess what happens. Everyone dies.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So season 5, we saw Philip and Marco at the end of season 4 whenever they spaced Ashford. And then they hinted towards, them throwing rocks at Earth at the end of season 4. They showed the stealth tech coating that one rock and then launching it, but you weren't quite sure where until Marco was talking to Ashford and bragging that Belter's visions weren't big enough, and he was gonna change that. So rocks fall on Earth. I think they had 3 hits, 2?
Three in the show.
3 in the show,
or in they do insinuate in season 6 that it was a lot more after that, but 3 that they showed.
Yeah, so 3 hits, took out like millions of people, did massive amounts of damage to both, civilian
Atlantic
centers and the climate itself.
Yeah, it was in the Atlantic. Sounded like one in Africa, and then where was the third one?
It was in Asia somewhere.
Or Russia area. Yeah.
Well, it was in Asia because she was in Asia whenever the rock hit.
That's right. The Secretary General.
Or Secretary General, yeah.
Yep.
Can we talk about the asteroids for a second?
Sure. Yeah. They're rocks.
They're rocks.
Big rocks.
But I want to put it in context for people that don't have a good concept of what these rocks can actually do and how big they are. So the rock that hit the Earth in the Expanse was roughly about 90 meters, and that's based on the conversation that they had with the doctor in the Luna bar. The fragments of the one that broke up, they were estimating it about 90 meters across.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that all of them are in the same sort of class. So about 90, maybe 100 meters, something like that.
So roughly the size of a football field.
Roughly the size of a football field.
Okay.
The asteroid or comet or whatever you want to call it that exploded over Tunguska in the early 1900s. I think it was 1908, if I'm remembering correctly. It might be off on the date a little bit there. That was estimated, because there was no fragments ever found of it because it exploded up in the air, but that was estimated to be somewhere between 164 and 200 meters across. So double the size of the rocks that hit the Earth in the Expanse. Now the big one, yeah, go ahead.
But it also depends upon the composition of the asteroid. So we're not sure exactly what the composition of the one above Tunguska was, and these were confirmed to be iron nickel.
Yeah.
Yep. To do the most amount of damage. You're absolutely right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because all that heat would turn it into hard steel, right? Not steel, but would harden it. It wouldn't necessarily break
They
it
wouldn't
up.
vaporize, yeah.
Yeah.
So the one that killed off the dinosaurs, the Chicxulub, I think that's how you pronounce it, Chicxulub, is 10 kilometers across. That was the one that hit a million years ago and killed all the dinosaurs, 10 kilometers across. So that was a life-ending impact with that one. I don't know about the most impact meaning the iron core or not, because the Tunguska one leveled an awful lot of land by exploding above land. So there's different types of explosions and devastations that could occur. Now, I think that he put the asteroid in the ocean off the East Coast to do the massive amount of damage to the East Coast of North America, because so many of those cities were being protected from rising
seawalls. Yeah.
Seawalls. So they were completely devastated and flooded out by the resulting tidal wave that came. So I think he was thinking in terms of that when he was doing it. So anyway, if anybody out there that's listening to this is like, well, did they get it right as far as the damage that these asteroids created? I think so, for the most part. And I like this damage estimate a lot more than I like the damage estimate for the nuke that hit South America before, because I have issues with that. And we talked about that back a couple seasons. So anyway, there's your asteroid 101 there.
So what do you think about the spacewalk that Naomi took? So when she was in vacuum for an estimated, about 30 seconds, half a minute between one ship to the other.
Okay. Yeah.
And she looked like she was, pretty fucked up by the time she got to the other ship. She had a lot of edema.
Yeah, radiation
She had some radiation burning from, the cosmic rays, things like that. She probably had a pretty good case of the bends at that point, too. You think she would have survived?
So she did inject herself with
oxygenated blood.
Oxygenated blood, or whatever they're calling that back then.
They called it because they used it on the reporter too. Whenever they saved her from the shipping crate, it was the same thing.
Oh, okay. You think? Okay, yeah, oxygenated blood. So that's supposed to be a give you a little bit extra time. It's like a AED, I guess, space AED.
Well, that kept her from passing out,
right? And it kept. I guess it's plausible.
I mean, I haven't done a lot of research onto the effects of vacuum on the human body. I know that we have got some research or some data on that, or at least some conjecture.
Yeah, what she did was completely plausible. Would everybody survive that? No, it would depend on your ability to withstand those sorts of environments. And I would think Naomi, being a belter her entire life, was subjected to lower atmospheric conditions, which prevent her from staying on the surface of a planet, but enable her to survive brief encounters like this.
Yeah, I've got a question about that too. So they keep saying that belters can't handle long periods of G-forces, but we've already established that when they move through space, they're anywhere from 1/3 to a full G. as they're traversing between areas, because they don't do just a burn and drift. They do a continuous burn.
Sometimes
from point A to point B.
Sometimes, yeah.
We've never seen them do just a drift unless they had something that they had to do.
Yeah, unless they were working on something. Yeah,
right.
So most of the time it was 1/3 half G, somewhere in there. Very rarely did they go full G unless they were ramping up for combat or something like that.
Okay, but my question is, why would that preclude them from being able to adjust to gravitational planetary gravitation? I mean, they're already being exposed to G's out in space, so their body should be used, at least somewhat accustomed to G forces just from traversing in space.
So
a lot of the Belters came from either Ceres or some other place that had at least partial gravity.
So the prevailing thinking in the books themselves, Belter, and they showed this a little bit right at the beginning of the series, but didn't focus on it any further than that, was that they're naturally longer, they're elongated Belters because they don't have the gravity on them. Most of the time when you are going at those higher Gs, higher being over that half G, you're in a crash couch, and it has its gel that conforms to it and absorbs those Gs to make it easier on your body.
But that's not true, because they're walking around. That's why they don't need the mag.
Yes, in the show they're walking around. But when they go past that third or half G, they're in the couches. Most of the time, cruising speed is in the books was third, half G, somewhere in there. Very rarely was it the 1G or the extra. If they go over 1G, they were giving you the juice to keep you lucid. And then the other thing that they've mentioned in the books is with Belters, since their bodies are elongated, it comes down to their bone density being slightly different, and they can't handle the downward pressure from being on a planet. The more or less the grinding of the bones. Their bones are brittle. I guess it's akin to maybe osteoporosis or something like that, with a brittle bone disease. Basically, Belters are like that.
So that still doesn't make sense. Go ahead.
Yeah. In the show, it's slightly different because even though there's bone density, I believe that was brought up in the very first episode or second episode when Ava Serla had the Belter on the hooks.
Yeah.
But later on, when Naomi is actually on the planet, what they key in on is the cardiovascular system.
Okay.
And the fact that the heart cannot beat hard enough to pump the blood in those sorts of gravity for sustained times. Now, remember, she's on the planet for a long time before she starts to experience symptoms, and would have been on the planet
a couple days,
even longer than that before she would have actually died. If you're actually in space and you're experiencing 1G for a couple of days as you're burning around the system, then you would have rest at a certain point, right? So,
well, but there's no way you can burn around the system in a couple of days. I think we established that the burns between these planetary bodies were taking a couple weeks, if not months.
If you're burning at 1G, it's actually not. It's a lot quicker than months.
It's an exponential jump. Seeing what when SP posted that one thing a few episodes ago, it was exponential in terms of time, based off of the 1G or half G or third G constant thing.
I gotta find that because I don't remember.
Yeah, it was way up there. Because we established it was a couple weeks from Uranus.
If the planets are aligned correctly, you could get from the Earth out to the ring in just a matter of a couple of days with 1G burn the entire time.
Okay, so at the closest, when Neptune and Earth are the closest to each other, if these numbers are correct, you could get there in a little over 15 days at a constant, what does it say? Well, it doesn't say how fast. Oh, 1G acceleration with a flip maneuver in the middle.
Yeah, so if you do half a G, it's a lot longer than, longer because of the movement of the planets and stuff like that. But yeah, you're roughly talking about that magnitude of time. It's in the books, talking to the authors, they said it was weeks and months. So the books and the TV show, they have different aspects of it. And I think the TV show is because, and Rob mentioned it the very first podcast that we did, very first season, was one of his quabbles was the expanse of time.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about how much these ships burn and at what level they'd burn at in the TV show, I can see that being a little bit different and faster passage of time than in the books. But yes, all of the above.
So then why wouldn't Martians also be afflicted? Maybe not to the extent that Belters are, but Mars doesn't have the same gravity.
Yes, but all Martians train at 1G.
No, Bobby and them trained at 1G.
Yeah. No,
not all Martians.
Not all Martians, but I don't know. I don't know.
A certain percentage would, but it would be a lower percentage because they are at a higher level of gravity as they're growing up. I mean, there's a difference between Martian gravity and the gravity available on Ceres or Pallas.
That's all artificial, and they probably keep it at a third G or so.
No, Ceres has its own gravity. That's why it's round.
Yeah, but it's a lot smaller, right? So
it is.
You're getting a lot less of the effects of gravity as your body is growing up. I would venture to say, there's been a lot, especially in this season, talking about Earthers that are out in the belt, like Fred Johnson, Bull, and Holden, for example. I would venture to say Holden, since he's been out you got to go back to his military service. He's been out off of Earth gravity for a long time. I would say that even though his body was born on Earth and he grew up on Earth.
Yeah, there's got to be some atrophy.
Yeah, there's definitely some atrophy in even Holden. Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's any atrophy. And Amos has been out there for quite a while, too.
I would agree.
Not as long as Holden.
Amos is just a fucking brick. I mean, he is built stock, I mean, I think he gains mass.
He just has poor choice. Although West Chatham isn't amazing. If you've ever heard him talk at a panel or he's got a podcast out there and you listen to him, he's a wealth of information. The guy is smart and he is entertaining and he's funny. He's definitely in the right business of being an actor, and he's got a lot of history being an actor. We haven't really talked about the fact that some of these actors have been around for a while and done a lot of things. And Wes or Amos or Timothy, if you want to even go there in this season, he has got an amazing past. So just look him up on IMDb and I'll bet you run into something that you've liked, that you've watched him in before.
Yeah, he got his acting start in the Navy. He was on an aircraft carrier, and they were pulling sailors to act as extras. I can't remember what movie it was, but he was one picked, and that was something that he had always wanted to do. So after he got out of the Navy, that's what he pursued.
I had a small quabble with this season. We talked about it being weak. I think the Secretary General dying, and then they find this rando guy for all of like 2 days. I think it was just an excuse to say, oh, okay, see, Ava Serla wasn't actually going to take over. She was going to play ball. But then they're like, oh, no, we need her to be the Secretary General because, that's what she's good at type of deal. I thought it was kind of why did they even do that? You know, because the guy was in basically one episode, you know, tail end of one, beginning of another, and then he got overthrown. It seemed a little superfluous.
She lost the election hard.
Oh, she did.
And we watched it all last season. She lost it hard. She was outside the government. She was given an honorary post, which in grand schemes, if you think about it, is both very powerful and very ironic, because she was I don't know if you guys caught what she was doing, but she was the head of determining what people went where in the ring. So very powerful position if you take it that Earth can control that sort of stuff. But as we talked about last time, Earth should not be the one controlling that stuff.
Right.
And it should be at the very least equally shared amongst Belters and Mars and Earth, at the very least, if not weighted more towards the Belters, in my opinion. She has some concerns about what's out there. We saw what happened last season in Ilias, but she is outside of the government and has no claim at all to be Secretary General. And there has to be a line of succession. And just how big the government is in the UN, there had to be somebody that survived that was not her or was a legitimate line of succession. And so they found somebody, and actually they did a nod to Battlestar Galactica. I don't know if you caught that or not, because she asked him, "Aren't you the Secretary of Education?" Which the president in Battlestar Galactica was Secretary of Education. So that's why that was thrown in there. So no, I'm Secretary of Transportation. But he is one of those guys. He was at the pinnacle of his career, should not have gone any further. David Pasteur is the character's name. And if he got any farther, is just one of those guys who's promoted to a spot that he's ultimately going to fail at. So he never should have been in that position. He was getting swayed the wrong way. He made a very bad decision, which will have ongoing ramifications. It was the attack on Pallas that actually happened. They didn't show it, but that happened. And that's just going to affect everything. And I don't think that Christian is going to be, maybe because of her mistakes and she's learned something, but she wasn't a good Secretary General. She was a great deputy, but she's not a good prime. Unfortunately, that's all they got left.
I don't think she had enough time in the Secretary General spot to be a good Secretary General. I mean, they had elections shortly after she got the post, after what's-his-face stepped down.
Yeah, he was. And so she stepped up to it. That's about it.
Yeah, so most of her time behind the desk was campaigning to stay behind the desk,
which is interesting because she officially has never been elected a Secretary General, yet has served it twice now.
Well, no, she was elected this last time. The vote of no confidence.
Vote of no confidence, yeah.
Well, the vote of no confidence, they vote it down and then you re-elect.
Yeah,
but it was elected by the ministers, not by the people.
It's election.
Yeah. Emergency election. It was a loophole. That's basically
it's not a loophole.
It was a loophole. It was basically they found a loophole to be able to put her back in power.
No, I mean, the vote of no confidence in a parliamentary government is there for a reason. It's been used in real life several times.
She's keen on what is going on, and she's very good at piecing the information together and more importantly, asking the right questions. Because once you ask the right questions, then you start to get what's really the motivations behind things and what's really the right answers, which is why she stumbled on the fact that these were asteroid bombs coming from Marco and that they needed to turn I forget what sensors they were, but the sensors that were
the Sentinel satellites.
Sentinel satellites, yeah.
That were pointed at Mars towards asteroid defense instead, and that nobody's really worried about Mars anymore, which is a whole different side of the discussion that we need to have. But she pieces that all together, but because of the way the election went down, Nancy Gao doesn't want to hear from her. She wants to run her own campaign. I don't even know why she chose Christian to be even a remote part of the administration, other than to keep her under her thumb at a point where she wouldn't be a thorn in her side. But she becomes a thorn in her side, and she instructs everybody, just don't take her phone calls. We've got better things to do. She is not running this government. I don't know exactly what she said, but one of those things was probably said. And so nobody was taking her phone calls. And that was to Nancy Scow's detriment, because she got hit by one of the asteroids, because the plane that she was on, UN-1, got hit in the shockwave. And if it would have been in space, would have been no big deal, because she wouldn't have been hit by the shockwave, but she was in the atmosphere, so she got hit by the shockwave, and she, was no more. And she is only to blame for herself for not asking the right questions. She should have been asking the right questions, and she wasn't.
Well, but Ava Serla also has the history as being, the head spy. She was the diplomat, the head diplomat for the UN, of course, with being the head diplomat or the Secretary of State or the Undersecretary of State, as she was. She controls the spy network, so she's used to asking those questions.
Another question I got, there was that whole controversy of from Cass Anvar, right? Of, misconduct.
Yeah, and that's why they killed off Alex.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. That came up while they were filming, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
At the tail end.
No. They had already filmed. They were in post-production at this point.
Okay.
And so that's why kind of you get this paused scene in the Razorback with some CGI'd blood. And
so that was a paused scene, you think?
Yeah. That was a still scene that they kind of made it look like it was live.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's why you hear things in the background. His final thoughts in the background.
Well, what a ride! Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's gone because they had to. They didn't have plans on killing him off until the things came out that he was grabbing.
Well, he
people.
doesn't. Yeah, and he doesn't die in the books. You know, all four of them are still very much alive and old.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because after season 6, they jump forward 30 years.
Yeah, it's a 30-year jump after the whole Free Navy thing arc. Yep. And you get to see the Laconia incursion.
The announcement came out in September, I want to say, September 2020, and that he would not be returning for a final season. And I think his last activity on social media was in like July, so he knew something was going on. This was not a surprise.
Yeah, so they had started investigating it before they announced he wouldn't be back on the show.
Yeah.
It's just
so
sad
it was as a result of the investigation that they did that they released him from his contract.
Yeah, it's just sad that they had to kill him off versus recasting, because I do like the character, and as Rob just said, the character is around for quite some more time. I mean, they've messed around with characters already. They've added some that are amalgamations. They've taken some away. They've had characters at different points in time in the story than they are in the books. So it's not like this sort of thing hasn't happened before. But Alec is one of the main characters. By the way, do you guys know how all these main characters were created to begin with?
In somebody's brain?
Yeah.
When two people love each other very much.
Well, here's the thing. Ty Frank was actually doing a role-playing game back in the day. And he had people create these characters as role-playing characters, or whatever you want to call them. And so he did not, and the co-author was his name, Dan. He did not create these characters. These characters were created by other people. Now, they're given credit. It's not like S.A. Corey has taken these characters and said, we created them. So the actual creators are given the appropriate credit, but they were created for a game. And originally, The Expanse was meant to become a video game. Well, at first, but then they were going to go video game. It was not optioned that way. So that's why they started going down the TV road, and that's when Alcon picked them up. But like even Shet, who died way back in season 1, he was created as one of the main characters, And the reason why Shed dies in the story is because the person playing Shed had other things he or she, I forget who created the character, had to do. So they asked for the character to be written out of the story. So that is why Shed died.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, it was all based off of not based off of a tabletop game, but it was like they were, tabletop characters. I remember reading something about that.
All right, I got a question. So what happened to Dawes? We keep hearing
He
about
died.
Dawes. When did he die?
Season 6.
God damn it.
Episode 2, Season 6. It's mentioned.
It's mentioned, but not. And here's the thing. They
But
wanted to get Jared Harris back on the show, so they kept his character in the background all the way into season 6. But because Jared is such a busy actor that they could not get his time to come back, he actually wanted to come back and do the show, but they couldn't get his time synced up to a time that they would need him to shoot, so he never made it back.
Yeah, he just kind of disappears. Name only.
Yeah, I mean, they mention him several times in this episode or in this season, but you never see him. And you figure, he's running Sirius Station at this point. He would be like one of the main players. Yeah, it was just odd that we haven't seen him since like season 3. I was wondering if it was, Amazon wasn't going to give him enough money to be on the show or something like that. But
not at all. It was just simply timing. He actually would have loved to come back to do it for free. I mean, as an actor, you can't do that, but he just couldn't get his timing linked out. I mean, if you take a look at his IMDb, he's been in a ton of stuff. When they first got him for The Expanse, it was at a lull in his filming career and just his schedule. And so they just lucked into getting him, and he was an amazing casting for the part, but then he just couldn't make it into his schedule because he had other things going on. And one of the reasons why Jared Harris is such an amazing actor is he's constantly in the zone. You'll hear a lot about some of the actors in Hollywood taking time off, or Toronto or Vancouver, where they are taking time off. And then when they come back, it's a little bit more difficult for them to get back into the roles that they are playing, just because they haven't done it a lot. And Jared's just in a point in his career where he is continually filming to stay in that zone because he is on top of his game.
All right, final thoughts.
It was a good season. It was slow, but I think it was a nice change of pace. But it's still worth it.
All right, I got a couple of things. First of all, Naomi, complete character swap in this season up until the end when she's on the Chet trying to make things work. This crying Naomi thing did not work for me. I don't know if it bugged you guys, but it bugged me quite a bit.
That's how it was in the book. She, she's a completely different person with Marcos around. And they mention that in the book in terms of, because you get to hear her inner monologue, and she's basically right back where she was back when Philip was a baby. Her mind just goes there. I think it was in an effort to play to Marcos's smooth talking. Marco's.
It's Marco.
Why Marco?
His name is Marco, so his possessive would be Marcos.
So it plays to Marcos's smooth talking abilities.
You kept calling him Marcos, and then you said Marcos's.
Yeah, Marcos's.
It's Marco.
No, his name is Marcos.
Or Marcos.
Yeah, Marcos is his name.
Marco Inaros.
No, Marcos Inaros.
No,
are you
no
sure?
S.
No,
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no S.
No, it's Marcos.
Go ahead,
man.
research on the fly. And while you're doing that, I want to talk about Drummer and her change.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Marco Inaros.
No, it's Marcos Inaros. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Marco.
Let me edit Wikipedia real quick.
All right, let's talk about Drummer. She has also kind of a character flip, and then she gets back to it at the end of the season, but she does an unusual thing in that she doesn't want to do what hasn't worked. Being a pirate hasn't worked. being working for Earthers hasn't worked, so she sets out to do her own claim. And instead of being the tough captain of a crew, she tries this polyamorous crew relationship. And it's just a different way of looking at things, but it also makes some really tough choices near the end when they've done the crew swap, because basically her decision to save Miller and Holden and the Rocinante at the end killed Serge, her one crew member or family member. And that was pretty difficult. But also with that, I want to say that last season I was totally on board with all the new characters. This season I was not. Her deputy, what was her name? Oksana or something like that. She was really getting underneath my skin as well, because it was just all raw emotion. And I guess that's one of the problems I have with this season is the raw emotion was the driving factor for a lot of this. And I'm sorry, it's like teen angst to me. If you just make a movie about raw emotion, you might as well make it a chick flick, because it's just not going to work for me. I'm okay with some emotional scenes and some emotionally driven characters, but when the entire season is emotionally driven, it gets to be a little bit dragging, which is what happened here.
There was a lot of love going around.
Also, I want to say, I think, and you guys could differ with me or whatever, but the CGI in season 5 is the best CGI of this entire series to date. And I really liked some of it. So it was contrasting between the emotional garbage that I could care less about and the really good CGI. Did you guys like the CGI?
I mean, I didn't notice just an increase in quality, that much of an increase in quality over previous seasons. I mean, it's been pretty spot on throughout the entire series. So I didn't notice, I mean, just it didn't strike me as being that much better than previous seasons. So I didn't notice, no.
Some of it is in the background. Some of it, like all the trains on Mars and Tycho and Luna, that was not in season 1, where you did get a tube, but you didn't get the view from inside the tube because, well, there was nothing there but rocks. Here, you're seeing the expanse around it, and it was just done differently. And that was one example. When the Lazy Songbird landed on Luna, that was the ship that Amos took to the moon or to Earth. That was pretty nice because you saw the entirety of the lunar colony, whatever it's called. We'll just call it Luna or Luna 1 or something like that.
It's Lovett, the
Lovett Station.
Yeah,
Lovett
Station. Landing
Jim Lovett.
Yeah. Jim Lovett,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that was pretty cool. The asteroid hit was decent. I mean, really all you got to see from that close up was the fishermen on the shoreline. But then you saw the pan out shots from space or whatever. But just that scene of the fisherman, who I thought was Charles, which was Lydia's significant other, but it wasn't. But I thought it was Charles when I first saw it. And that was pretty nicely done. And you guys have any other special scenes that you can recall from the CGI standpoint?
I really liked the battle scene between the Rocinante and the other 4 ships.
Yeah, the twist. That was really nice.
That was really nice.
There was 2 different ones. There's the Zemaya battle with the Rossi, where you had all the torpedoes around it and it was shooting the PDCs.
And so, he went into a spin to bring the PDCs to bear because one of them had jammed. That was really cool. But now the big battle between the 3 ships, where the Rocinante kind of just went through their blockade, and then Drummer blew up that one ship from behind. I thought the CGI and the cinematography work on that was really good.
That was my number 1 favorite CGI scene from the season here. The next one was, I don't know what this is. Is it a bomb or is it like living entities? The black bomb destruction of the Barkeith at the Lakodio ring at the very end with the Martians.
Yeah. So those are the entities that killed the proto molecule. They live in another dimension in between the portal, or you kind of see them in the portals, and that comes into play in season 6.
I have a theory about
Way
them.
to spoil it.
I said it comes into play. You don't know how. I mean, they already foreshadowed it at the end of season 5. You know that's going to come into play somehow.
Yeah, I know.
My theory on that is that it's like antimatter with matter, and that they're fighting for the same base universal energy. And that is why they're at each other's throats between the creators and the black entities, whatever. That's my theory.
So
Okay.
I haven't read any of the books past the Laconia incursion stuff. So basically the 30-year jump, I read that book, and I haven't read the others. And in the books, they haven't touched on that black hole since Ilus. In the books, ships disappeared, but it turns out to be basically it's a surge protector. So too much stuff going through the rings all at once, and they reset themselves. So, and they figure that out, and basically they know to give some time in between things, because ships were starting to disappear, not just to Laconia, but like other rings. They would just they wouldn't make it through, and they equated that to like a surge. So basically, the rings were having to reset because too much energy was going through them. So I don't know if that comes into play in season 6 or not, because I haven't watched it. But the whole aspect of the black hole entity thing is never really talked about again.
Right. And so I think it's a continuing source for these authors to make more books, and they're eventually going to get to the explanation. So that's the explanation I would go through.
Well, I think they're done.
For now, I guess. But, when the money train backs up, they'll make more. Anyway, so the number one CGI scene would be the battle at the end that we were talking about. And my number 2 would be that black bomb destruction of the Barkeith. The number 3 would be the Zemaya battle with the Rossi. We talked about that. Number 4 would be Naomi's suitless transfer from the Pella to the Chet. And don't ask me ever to say the name of that ship, because I don't know how to say it. I'll just say the Chet. And then number 5 would be a combination. It was in episodes 5 and 6 when Alex was outflying the missile by ejecting the core. And maybe Rob, you have some more insight on that, because they seem to be flying fine after the fact.
Yeah, I was curious about that too. How did they eject
know.
their core and still have an engine to run?
I was thinking maybe it was just a fuel rod. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe they've got 2 cores.
Yeah, maybe.
It being a racing ship, I don't remember in the books how they got away from that. But with it being a racing ship, I would think they would have a redundancy, because they are going hard, right?
Maybe stage 1 core, and then when all the fuel rods get expended, they can eject it and go to a phase 2 core or something like that.
Maybe.
So that was in episode 5. In episode 6, when the Razorback was escaping from the pirates right there, where Bobby is literally holding the ships together. That was pretty cool. So anyway, that's number 5. Number 6 was the crab robot protomolecule heist. I got to believe a lot of that was CGI. I don't think that robot exists in real life today, but maybe I'm wrong.
Either.
And then number 7 is the escape from the island with the shuttle. And you're like, why is that CGI? Well, it was a really good action sequence, that's for sure. But then when it lifted off, you had the fire going down the tunnel, and then you had the shot of it lifting up. So I put that as number 7. Then 8, 9, and 10 were the asteroid hit, the lazy songbird landing on Luna, and the trains on all the other places. So I think that the background CGI in season 5 is well above what was done before. When you're talking all of the look at the solar system and the flight paths, and then just everything in just the scenes, there was notable CGI in all of the scenes. So I was just thinking it was more than before, but maybe I'm wrong.
All right, one more question before we get into haikus and awards. If Rob's got his haiku written at this point,
it's ready. It's ready. Yeah. I'm good. You ready? This is
no. I said one more question.
Oh, okay.
Before, yeah.
Okay, because I'm ready.
So, how does a suborbital ship get to the moon?
Are you talking about UN-1?
No, I'm talking about the ship that Amos and them took to get to the moon. They said it was a suborbital ship.
I think they misspoke there. In my mind, I'm thinking it was it had a kettle drive. You know what they called the kettle drive, regular. It didn't have an Epstein drive.
Okay.
So it wasn't capable of going to other planets, but it could get yourself to the moon. A little space yacht.
Right.
You know.
So why did they call it suborbital?
Again, I think it was a misspoken.
It's kind of weird for a show that's gotten so much right, though.
Yeah.
Well, even if it was suborbital, right? If they got like, I don't know, Blue Origins or Mercury 7 or whatever, if they got to the point where they got noticed, somebody could come in, swoop in, and tow them to a higher orbit.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and Amos was working on it. Maybe he juiced it up a little bit.
Maybe he juiced it up. Yeah.
Poured some tequila in.
Pour some tequila. Yeah.
All right, Rob, you're chomping at the bit. Give us your haiku.
Oh, I don't have one. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so this one is titled The Churn. Spacewalk Sans Helmet, Smooth Talker Belter Marco, Asteroids Broke Earth.
Okay.
Counting that out because that didn't sound right.
Smooth Talker Belter Marco. That's 7. So
okay.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, that one was the tough one. I had to come up with that one. that middle one there. But yeah, it was there. 575.
All right.
Not my best work, but whatever.
Who's got awards?
Wait,
I got it.
Wait,
what?
You got a limerick.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Man,
All right.
He's been coming. It's just expected now.
Apparently not with Jason.
No, apparently not. He's just like, whatever.
All right, give us your limerick.
I've titled it Return to Found Family. Rocinante crew pursue lone quests. Amos and Peaches share good slugfests. Alex was stupid. Naomi looted. Christian's last speech was well expressed.
Yeah, that last speech was really inspirational, and then all hell broke loose at the ring. That was kind of a interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, you knew it was going to happen, though.
All right, who's got awards?
Yes, sir.
Rob, who's got your black lung?
I gave it to Earth. Earth gets the black lung.
All right. SP?
I can't do better than that. I chose Naomi because of her suitless transition.
Yeah, that's who I was going to get mine was Naomi, because not only did she traverse vacuum, so and it looks like she got rid of her breath before she went over or went into the vacuum.
Yeah, she was exhaling.
So she exhaled, and then she had to hold her breath several times to go into the crawl space around the hull of the ship to do various things. So yeah, she was going to get my black lung.
I do have a quabble with Sin. I think he should still be alive. I think that Philip could have closed the outer doors and repressurized fast enough to save him.
Well, but he was in the outer doors. I mean, the outer doors would have crushed him. Because he had reached out to try and grab Naomi, so...
Okay.
SP, who's got your head lush?
Oh, it's easy this time. It's Amos. He was always drinking something. I mean, Drummer drunk the bottle that she was going to share with Ashford, but that was just because she was emotional. Amos was just drinking just to drink.
Okay, Rob?
Oh yeah, Amos. Every time he went and saw his friend, he grabbed a bottle of tequila. Hell, he was smart enough to save one for the firefight, for after the firefight, and then proceeded
Drop
to
it on the moon.
Yeah, proceeded to break it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if I was Amos, I would have jumped over the edge. It's low gravity. He would have been all right.
Well, but he would have had to have somehow accelerated himself down.
He could have pushed off the railing. Where there's a tequila bottle, there's a way.
All right, so mine's going to go to Drummer for chugging the bottle of scotch that she wanted to give to Ashford.
I bet you it was actually Amos.
May have been, but you'll never know.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, who's got your player?
I gave it to Marco for basically playing against Philip's emotions for his mother and all that, making him feel guilty, and then turning that guilt on him to be able to basically commandeer a ship and set it up as a bomb. He knows that Philip's always looking for approval, and he makes sure that he holds it out there just enough as a carrot.
Okay. SP?
I'm going to go with Eric. I mean, he one-handed, literally, corralled all crime in Baltimore. And then he saw his chance and had to be convinced of it, but saw his chance and he took it. And then now is going to run all crime on the moon. So, yeah, I'll give it to Eric for doing all that. And he did say that he had been with quite a bit of woman in his life. So he's got that going for him, too.
All right. So mine is going to go to Drummer's XO. I can't remember that character's name,
It's
but
spelled Oksana. I don't know how you pronounce it, but that's how it's spelled.
Okasana?
Something like that.
Okay. So she's going to get mine. She basically convinced Drummer to join the person that she hates the most, the person that killed like her mentor in Ashford, to join up with him. And, you know, it was her being put to the test on whether she was going to kill a person that she considered a friend or not, that finally cleared her head and made her make the right choice after that. So, but she played her, so she's getting my player award. All right, SP, who's got your purple hippo?
I will go with Secretary General David Pastor, because he was definitely way above where he should have been, and just deciding to go attack another planet or palace, asteroid, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I'll give that to him. He was just delusional in his ways that he was going to try to run the world.
All right, Rob?
I gave it to... I'm going to give it to the Barkeith commanders, basically, for getting black holed, going through that ring and seeing all those swirly things. You know, that's going to mess with you. Here you think you're going to Laconia and having a, you know, starting the next master race or what have you, and nope, I'm getting eaten by space eels.
Lieutenant Babbage was so submissive to him. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
That was
yeah.
Oh.
So did that happen in the books?
So Babbage and that other dude were in there, yes, and they were part of the whole plot and everything. But you never, they never do the whole black hole thing. Like I said, I can't remember offhand if they made it through or not into the next series. But I do know that, you know, yeah, they gave ships away and everything, and then they went through the rings and all that kind of good stuff.
But their ship getting destroyed.
I don't
traversing the ring.
I don't recall whether or not that happened.
Okay.
Because as best I can remember, none of the ships getting destroyed type of things happened until what essentially would be the next season. They didn't bring that up during this whole free Navy thing, because It had happened. Okay, so spoiler in the books, Holden is actually at the what behemoth was it? Meridian station? No. What's the behemoth now?
Come on, you can do it.
Look,
Medina.
Medina. There it is. Yeah. So he is at Medina in the books when people come through 30 years later, and that's also when they start trying to figure out what's going on with people disappearing. If I remember.
Oh,
correctly.
so the disappearing stuff doesn't happen until the 30-year later jump.
More or less, yeah.
Oh, okay. So season 6 is okay.
Yeah,
they've kind season
of,
6 will be interesting then.
Yeah. Now, and I can't. Those ones aren't for. Even though I've read those the latest, they're not as fresh in my mind as some of these other books were.
Okay.
But
so, and I forgot. Oh, yeah. So my purple hippo is going to go to Naomi for jumping out of an airlock onto another ship. That had to have been just some sort of special kind of crazy to do that. Sure, she was desperate, but yeah, that had to have been a trippy experience.
Yeah, and to get to the point where that is your only option. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She couldn't find a fucking suit someplace on that
well,
ship.
So in the books, they specifically had all the suits under lock and key so that she couldn't try to escape.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like she was trying in the books, she was trying to get to suits, and she could never. They were following her around a lot more in the books, and she could never find a way to steal a suit.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, next episode, we are going to be discussing the final season of the Expanse series, season 6. It's a short one; it's only 6 episodes, but it's a pretty good cherry on top of the season. I especially like how they ended it. They ended it up on a pretty good note. So, SP, thanks for being on again. I hope the judge continues to force you to be on the show. Yeah. Where can the people find you?
You can find me on my other show, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is at legendsofshield.com. We are going to be talking all about Moon Knight by the time the show comes out. Hopefully the first episode, maybe the second episode, will be out. Our review of the first couple episodes of Moon Knight, the new Marvel Studios series on Disney+.
Oh, yeah, that's coming out.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for this episode. Our intro and outro music is Welcome Home by Cambo. Podcrawl music is Snack Mix by Machette. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes.
Rob,
you can leave us feedback on our Discord channel at smokinganddrinkinginspace.com/Discord. On Twitter at @7_podcast.
I think he would have made a lot of fun
email us at smokinganddrinkinginspace@outlook.com.
compared it to
if you'd like to throw a few nickels our way, become a Patreon supporter by going to smokinganddrinkinginspace.com/Patreon. And make sure to visit Creative Brain Candy for more great shows and other creative works at creativebraincandy.com. For this week, I'm Jason.
Monica. Yeah. Sorry, we were talking about Monica and it put me in a weird place.
You're always in a weird place.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And we'll talk to you next episode.
You don't even let him say goodbye? Wow.
It was silent.
I was waiting for a lead-in.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Smoking and Drinking in Space. This is a sci-fi podcast from a couple guys who think they know sci-fi. And this week, we discussed the penultimate season of the sci-fi series that showed us the power of blue goo, starring betrayal, budding awkward romances, and the bends, as well as more rock throwing at season 5 of The Expanse. And he's the asshole who likes to eat fudge rounds and is an old mechanic who does all the wrong things for what he thinks are the right reasons and gets hit in the... God damn it. I gotta fucking do that over.
Well done, Rob.
Damn it, I hate you.
I'm going to have to take another bite?
I mean, I thought that was a little early myself, but whatever, Rob.
Well, sometimes I come a little early.